Okay, think about the last thing you posted online. Was it, that perfect photo? A super witty comment? The truth is, we're all constantly building this digital version of ourselves. But what's actually going on behind the screen? Well, let's get into it.
It's a pretty wild idea when you stop and think about it, right? That every single post, every like, every carefully chosen photo, it's all part of a performance. And honestly, once you start seeing it that way, you can't unsee it. This one idea is the key to unlocking our entire online world.
So, here's the plan for our journey. First, we're going to look at the stage itself, this new global platform we're all standing on. Then, we'll dive into the performance, the tools we use, and of course, the performers. And we're going to end with a really fascinating question. Does the performance ever end up changing the performer?
Right, so let's start with the stage. It's so easy to forget just how new all of this is. I mean, not that long ago, only massive celebrities or politicians could ever hope to reach a huge audience. Now, that power is literally in everyone's hands.
A perfect example of this is the YouTube gamer Stampy Longhead. Here's a totally ordinary person who, from his bedroom, created a whole persona and broadcast it to millions of people. He wasn't just making content, he was building an entire identity on a global scale. It's kind of amazing. So, if the internet is our stage, how do we even begin to understand our actions on it? Well, it turns out there's this brilliant theory from sociology that gives us the perfect lens to look through. The whole thing boils down to this idea called impression management. And listen, it's something you do every single day, probably without even realizing it. It's that constant, subtle little dance we do to try and shape what other people think of us. This idea originally came from a sociologist named Erving Goffman, and what's so wild is that he came up with this long before the internet was even a dream. He saw all of social life as a kind of play, where we're all just actors playing different roles depending on the situation and who we're with. And just look at how perfectly Goffman's metaphor fits our digital lives. The stage, well, that's your social media profile, your platform. The performance, that's every piece of content you put out there. Your audience is your followers and friends. And the script, it's every single caption and message you carefully edit and re-edit before you finally hit post. But here's the thing. The digital stage has some very special features that a real-life stage just doesn't have. It gives us this unique toolkit for managing our performance like never before. We basically get 3 super powerful tools in this kit. First up, asynchronicity, which is really just the gift of time. You don't have to react instantly. Second, editability, the power to revise and polish your message until it's perfect. And finally, anonymity, the freedom to perform from behind a mask if you want to.
And this toolkit, it gives us incredible power. It means our communication can be way more strategic than any face-to-face chat. We get to choose only our best photos, we can think up the perfect witty comeback, and for anyone who's a little bit shy or has social anxiety, this can be incredibly freeing.
Okay, so we've got the stage, we've got the tools, but what about the actors themselves? I mean, how does our actual real-world personality shape the performance we put on online? Because obviously not everyone uses these tools in the same way. So what is it that makes someone more likely to create that super polished, kind of idealized version of themselves online?
Well, a big part of the answer lies in this idea called self-concept clarity. Basically, it's about how clearly and consistently you see yourself. And what the research shows is that people with lower clarity, people who are maybe still figuring themselves out, they're way more likely to experiment with their identity online.
And of course, our core personality traits play a huge part. People who are more conscientious tend to be more cautious and authentic online. Agreeable people, same thing. They present an authentic self, but they also tend to avoid the spotlight. But then you have individuals with more neurotic traits, and they often use the online space really differently. They're more likely to share emotional information and try on multiple self-images, maybe as a way to deal with social anxiety. So all of this leads us to our final and maybe the most important question of all. What happens when the curtain comes down? Does our online performance have any real effect on our offline reality? After all this time we spend crafting, editing, performing, does it actually start to change who we are?
Well, it turns out there's a name for that. It's called the Proteus effect. The whole theory is that when you embody a different version of yourself online, maybe a more confident you or a more outgoing you, it can actually start to change your behavior in the real world. In a way, the mask starts to become the face.
And this can go both ways. On one hand, it's an incredible opportunity. The internet can be like a safe space to try on a version of yourself that you feel is more true, but you're just too shy to express in real life. But here's the catch. If the gap between your online self and your offline self gets too big, it can really start to hurt your real-world relationships.
And this quote it absolutely nails it. Our online experiments don't just stay online in a little box. They feed back into our self-concept, shaping the very core of how we see ourselves. What starts out as just a performance can actually become a new reality.
So that really leaves us with one last thing to think about. In this world where the performance is constant and the audience is always watching, it's worth asking yourself, who are you when the screen is off? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.